I wanted to follow up on the VA issue because for New Hampshire, we're on the choice card issue. We're getting, as a state that is one of the states that doesn't have a full-service veterans hospital, the choice issue in the Veterans Bill is very important to my state. So what I'm hearing from people in New Hampshire is that the choice card is being processed through a third-party contracting agency, and that we have veterans calling the office essentially saying that there's not enough information being given to veterans, that veterans are saying that they want to, if a veteran comes to and says, I want to see a particular doctor, that might allow them to go and connect the veteran with the doctor, may or may not. That's been complicated on that end. But also that if the veteran just says, I need this service, they're sort of left hanging. And so one I wanted to get your thoughts is one of the things that was identified on the veterans end in the report that you issued is the provision of non-VA care. So in a state like mine, it's really important because we don't have a full-service veterans hospital that's addressed in the bill. So we're giving our veterans access to more non-VA care. Are you going to do further work on this non-VA care issue? Because Congress clearly shifted and expressed a preference to introduce more opportunities for our veterans in it. It seems to me, though, the Veterans Administration has been really resistant to reform. And we talk about access in veterans facilities, but they seem somewhat resistant in terms of informing veterans on what their rights are on the non-VA care. And so I wanted to get your thoughts on what further work we think we need to do on this provision of non-VA care. How do we get this, the VA administration, to stop being so resistant to reform? Because Congress has clearly expressed on a bipartisan basis it's about the veteran, and we want to make sure that we get them proper care.
Yeah, well, I would just say that we will do the work necessary in the future to make sure that this issue gets resolved satisfactorily. Debbie Drafer is our expert in this area. I'd like her to speak to the issues that need to be resolved. But in putting this area on the high-risk list, a couple areas I was really troubled by. One was the fact that VA doesn't follow up to make sure if there is a referral that it actually happens, and they don't have good information to know whether it's more economical to give VA care or non-VA.
So what makes me worried about all this is I hear it, because for New Hampshire, really important. And the issue is this, is that if the VA almost wants to, I don't want them to want to undermine the access to non-VA care, because if we have good data, we may find down the line that this is actually a better way to serve veterans to avoid wait lists, and the cost efficiencies may be there. So, but if they don't follow through on this, it's almost a self-perpetuating failure, which is contrary to what Congress wanted to happen in the reform bill. So I appreciate your being here.
Yeah, we do. We have several concerns. I mean, before the act was passed, we had done prior work looking at non-VA care, and we found that there was the payment to providers was slow or often inaccurate, and community providers were really unwilling to take some of the VA patients. But beyond that, it was intended to improve access to health care, the timeliness of care. However, there was no infrastructure in place to really monitor wait times, how long people are actually waiting to get into those community providers. And so we do have a number of concerns, and that is one of the reasons that we put VA healthcare on the high-risk list. Many people see this as a panacea for some of the access problems. I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done to make sure that the infrastructure is in place to make sure that people are actually getting timely care through that system. And I think another important point is the VA healthcare system is a difficult system to navigate. So now you're introducing a second system for someone to navigate. So it just compounds the problems that exist or could exist. So We do have a number of mandates under that act to really look at the issue, so we will be doing that over the next couple of years, looking at the non-VA care.
I think it's really important, and I hope that you also look at, as you look at this, how embracing has the VA been of access to non-VA care? Because, again, I worry that if the VA doesn't embrace giving veterans access to non-VA care, then you can basically ensure that it really doesn't give veterans that option, and it really becomes self-perpetuating in terms of the conclusions that can be drawn from it. And for veterans in New Hampshire, for example, they were on buses being shipped, to Massachusetts and other places. If they can go to a local provider in their community, and they've, which obviously people have been able to do through other federal programs, then that, in the end, if you look at the cost efficiencies of not paying for the transportation, of access to care in terms of quality. Now, not everything is going to fit in that category, but a lot of care can. So I'm hopeful in the long term that we aren't just allowing the VA to want to perpetuate their own system, but we really do look at what's best for the veteran. So I know that you can be a very important voice on this. Thank you.
And just one other thing, I think we've seen a lot of variation, as we do with most other things related to VA, about how each facility is handling the non-VA care. And so that is something that, again, there's not standardized processes, but and they also rolled out this program very quickly. So over a couple months, choice cards were mailed to veterans.
Yeah, and they weren't told anything about them, and they were contacting our office. So information, I think, is important as well. I know I've gone over my time. I have a couple of additional questions that relate to the IRS and also the EITC and ACTC tax payments that I'll submit for the record. I appreciate all that you do. Thank you.